Hello, everybody. My name is Badraniki. I'm DueDash Sonipat City Leader. I welcome you all to our panel discussion today. The agenda of today's event is to have thoughtful, provoking, and meaningful conversation around building your business successfully and the importance of three key variables: team, plan, and process in building business with focus. So as we progress with the session, we will discuss broader range of subjects related to leadership, business planning, and development in the startup ecosystem to foster learning on fundraising processes and business development processes in young entrepreneurs. And for that, we have three experts with us. So first, I would like to introduce Achal Andrews. She's the founder and CEO of Skillmaker Consultancy. Welcome, Achal.
Thank you so much, Vandana. Thank you so much for that introduction.
You're welcome. So she's also an entrepreneur, a seasoned professional in strategic human resource management and organization development with an experience of over 20 years. She's an author of a book titled Beyond Frontline Excellence. We are really happy to have you here, Achal.
I'm happy to be here as well, Vandana. And thank you so much to everyone as well for having me here.
Great. So next we have a man wearing many hats in his professional career, Deepak Mandada. He's the founder and CEO of NMS Global Communications, a seasoned entrepreneur, MSME state president for Maharashtra, a corporate trainer and keynote speaker, also a business consultant and strategist with an experience of about 3 decades. Welcome, Deepak. It's a pleasure to have you here.
My pleasure and honor too. Thank you.
Then we have a young and energetic serial entrepreneur with us, Pranav Kumar. He's the founder and CEO of HUX Incorporation, that is redefining human experiences with a mission to create a more collaborative living and working environment for everyone. He's also the founder of Plus Capital Global, and he has been an advisor and director in several companies. Besides these, he's an angel investor, meditator, evangelist, and a startup enthusiast. Welcome, Pranav. We are thrilled to have you as a panelist today.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So we are looking forward to an insightful session with you all. And before we begin our panel discussion, I would request all the attendees to keep posting their questions into the chat box, and we will ensure that your questions are addressed during the session. Okay, let's move ahead and begin our discussion. First, I would like to go to Achal and to get her expert views on team building, since she has been a strategic human resource management professional for a decade. So Achal, welcome, and we would like to get your view on how to build an effective founding team in a startup company.
Sure, absolutely. I can give you quite a few inputs on that, actually, on the how question. But first, let me go on to talking about what is the importance of team building in an organization. So firstly, we need to understand who are our stakeholders. Our stakeholders are not only our customers, they're our employees, our product providers, our vendors, our suppliers, everybody and every entity that helps the success of a business is your stakeholder. Now, the reason I'm talking about stakeholdership is because all stakeholders require to be cohesive for the success of an organization. And that is the importance of team building. If you want to achieve the success of an organization, the stakeholders require to be cohesive. Now, to answer your question as to how can that happen. So I'll give 3 tips on what startups and organizations can do, especially when there is a lean structure that they're looking at. The first thing is to have multi-skilled employees. Right? So literally all employees require to be multi-skilled. However, their key skill and their key strength should be a complementary skill for the organization within a team, so that each team member can feed off each other, right, and their work. The second tip which I'd put forward is to have team leaders within an organization. And we're not talking about a boss. We're talking about a team leader who can be put forward on a rotation basis with the team. right? So for 3 months, one employee will be a team leader, then the next employee for the next 3 months, and so on. What that really does is focuses the employees towards their organization goal. The third point is coordination and collaboration. So there is a difference between the two. A collaboration is where two knowledge banks come together and share their experiences within an organization to work ahead. However, in coordination, it is the implementation of that experience and that work that needs to be done. So both are important for cohesiveness and also for team building. Moving ahead, I can also answer the question of what an organization needs to execute for effective team building. Okay, so if I have the permission, may I do that, Vandana? You're on mute, you're on mute.
Absolutely, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Vandana. Okay, so for effective team building, an organization needs to first set a result or a goal. By result or goal, I'm not talking about the mission of an organization. I'm talking about a short-term, mid-term, long-term result that you're looking for. Further, communicating a vision, mission, and values for the result in itself. It's not the vision, mission, values for the organization, but the vision, mission, values for the result. So what you're actually doing is creating a roadmap to execute the given result, right? One needs to involve all levels of an organization towards achievement of that result. And by that, I mean getting a buy-in from all levels of the organization. The next point would be equip your team with the right skills, the right knowledge, the right processes and systems, so that the followers of an organization and the followers of these change agents are cohesive in itself, as I was mentioning earlier. And to set an effective culture, basically putting a set standard together in terms of process systems, soft skills, and technical skills. And of course, all of this needs to be communicated throughout the organization with absolute transparency, because transparency is the way forward, moving from transactional leadership in organizations to transformational and relationship building leadership in organizations. So that's a bit that I can share with you, Vandana, and everyone.
That's a great insight, Achal. So Achal, how do you handle conflict within teams?
Okay, so firstly, conflicts within teams are as I mentioned earlier, there requires to be multi-skilled employees, but their key strength requires to be a complementary skill. Okay, so their complementary skill feeds, the team feeds off their complementary skill. And that's one way of resolving it. The second way of problem resolution is actually, there are several methods for problem resolution. One of them is putting forward learning and development programs, in fact, where there is 80% participation and 20% slides. And participation is extremely important in learning and development programs, because learning has it's no more about lectures. It's more about getting insights from the team as to what are the problems they are facing and how we can resolve them. So for that, there is something known as a fishbowl exercise, which can be done as well. So that's just to give you two different perspectives on how problems can be solved in organizations and within employees.
Perfect. Yeah. So our next question is from Abhishek. He's asking, while putting a foundation stone of your business, what are the measures one should keep in mind? What are the key measures?
What are the key measures one should keep in mind for?
While laying a foundation of a company.
Okay, the key measures to keep in mind while laying a foundation of a company, well, there are a lot of measures one should keep in mind. You would say, I can give you actually 15 measures to keep in mind. The first would be obviously demonstrating a zeal for your purpose in the organization. The second would be practice the values of your organization consistently, because your values are the ones which your customers are going to see and continue a relationship with. Right. The third would be establish long-term relationships with your customers and your employees and all the stakeholders. Another foundational key foundation would be to practice self-discipline to get results, right? Display courage to do what's right, not what's easy. That's important. Lead by example. And be inspirational, motivational, and personal with your stakeholders. So this is just putting it in a nutshell, just a few points, but there are 15 points I can kind of take a conversation further with. Yes, Vandana, over to you.
Great. So our next question is from Nikhil sir. He's asking, he's the founder of DueDash.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he's asking, in context of startups, which is essentially a chaotic construct, how do you create a low overhead structures?
A low overhead structure. Oh, well, if you talk about the current times and moving ahead, low overheads can happen obviously when you are using the 5 M's correctly. All right, and especially in the current times. So the 5 M's would be your things like minutes, your materials, your manpower, and so on. So when you're using that effectively, that's when you are reducing the load on your overheads. Currently, what businesses are doing are working from home. That's for startup businesses and for mid-sized companies also, they're all working from home. And working from home, there's a huge benefit in that actually, because your employees are productive throughout the day if you lead them correctly. They're productive throughout the day. There is a saving of time as well, so that productivity can be executed for a longer period of time. And also, one does not really need to have a physical structure per se to go to. Right, so that would be, for example, you can even have shared offices, right? There are sharing co-working spaces. So that is another method. Perhaps you can reduce your overhead. So that's just to give you just a little bit about.
Fantastic, fantastic. So since you mentioned about the current scenario, and right now there is an increased uncertainty in team members' availability due to work from home, right? So how to ensure the remote workers are being trained, upskilled, and are excited about their future?
The best way to do it is through the right leadership, and there's something known as digital leadership. Right, so it's no more about instruction or authority. It's about autonomy, and it's about reason. Using reason and autonomy within an organization and with your employees is what will propel your employees to move ahead successfully and be more productive. What that also means is giving them the freedom to work in flexi hours as well, since they're working from home. However, giving them a timeline that you have to achieve this by this point of time, you go ahead and do it. Giving them autonomy, letting them take the ownership, right? So these are small things which go a very long way, especially in the current time when people are working from home. Yes.
Absolutely. Perfect. So there is another question from Sunit Chaudhary. He's asking, what are the key points to keep in mind while hiring talented technical professionals who will be building our products?
Oh, sure. The only key thing you need to keep in mind for hiring, maybe for technical skills, maybe for leadership, maybe for management, there is only one thing that determines how effective an employee will be, and that is an employee's attitude. Hire attitude. That's my suggestion. And what is attitude? Attitude are having the right thoughts, sound emotions, and constructive behaviors. Yeah.
Right. So what are the parameters to assess the right attitude in the founding member?
Sure. So attitude has several assessment criteria, in fact, but basically we are looking at four areas which I can bring to the table right now. The first one is to be decision oriented. So having the ability to take a decision with a 360-degree understanding, looking at the intention, action, and consequence of a situation, and then executing a decision. So running through in your mind, in your thoughts, a particular decision. So that is one criteria which can kind of, what's the word? It can exude the right attitude, right? The second point would be action orientation. So ensuring that you're not just a dreamer, but you're also a doer. So that's another thing that can exude the right attitude. The third would be a self-starter, right? Somebody who is self-motivated and is self-resilient and is self-sustainable as well, because they will have an entrepreneurial mindset and they will take a business forward with the same. And the fourth one would be, of course, to be positive, right? Positive in your thoughts, in your emotions, having sound emotions. By sound emotions, I mean when there is a conflict that takes place, how do they really respond to a conflict, right? Do they get busy with thinking about the conflict, unable to bounce back? Or do they do something about it through behavior? So one tip which I usually give employees that I deliver workshops for and training programs for as well, and my team does, is whenever there is a conflict or a problem that is faced with you, may it be personal or professional, always start with behavior. Don't start with the mindset, don't start with the emotion, start with the behavior to resolve the conflict or the problem or how you're responding to it. Behavior is your starting point. Yeah, Vandana.
Right. Even Deepak is agreeing. He's saying skills and knowledge can be built. Attitude is the key.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
I do believe that even attitude, even though you identify the right attitude in the people, but that can also be developed. Attitude can be developed if the person has a willingness to learn, basically.
Right. All right. Thank you, Achal, deeper insights on team building. It's I agree, it's an integral to the business success.
Thank you so much,
Excellent.
Vandana. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Great. So now I would like to go to our second panelist, Deepak, to get his expert views on business planning. So Deepak, welcome.
Thank you, Vandana. I am sharing my screen.
So Deepak, since you have been a part of the ecosystem for about 3 decades, and you are an expert in brain mapping too, so how do you think, how important is planning in business? And how our young entrepreneurs can do successful and lean planning, business planning? So just wanted to know your view on it. What are the key components of lean planning, so to say?
Sure. I think planning is very, very key because if you do not plan, you may not know whether you are moving in the right direction or not.
That's right.
So you cannot check at your milestones where you are. So for me, I think planning is very, very key. So I would start my talk on the entrepreneur, starting from saying that if a person or an individual wants to get into entrepreneurship, very key is the mindset to get into entrepreneurship. Because if you are working, there is a different pros and cons. But when you get into entrepreneurship, you need to have a very, very strong mindset. So let me start with a few of my slides. So what is entrepreneurship? So there are different definitions available across. You Google it and you could find it. But what it says is typically a startup company offering an innovative product, process, or service. So it could be either product, could be process, or could be service. An entrepreneur perceives an opportunity and often exhibit biases in taking decisions to exploit the opportunities. Now, what are these opportunities? Design actions to develop a business plan, very, very key, because without that business plan, you would not know where to move, how to move. Very, very key is the first part is business plan. Acquire the human, financial, and other required sources. You need human resources, you need financial aids, and you need other resources to start your business, okay, which could be either product, process, or services. And Yes, as an entrepreneur, if you have a mindset, you are ready, whether you are successful or you achieve failure. So if an entrepreneur wants to get into this journey, these are the key things which I think, and I've been observing, I've been looking at a lot of entrepreneurs and they have all these mindsets. So this all comes through the experience which I've been observing it, plus my experience as well. So definition according to me, an entrepreneurship is sell, deliver, and collect. Make it very, very simple. What you need to do is sell your product, process, or services, deliver it, and if you deliver it the way you want, the way the customer wants, you should be able to collect 99.99 times. If you want to start a business or a venture, what do you need? You need an idea. Okay, so you can see the image very, very clearly. You need an idea. You need passion. And you need a solution. So it could be technologically good, but you need to have a solution which is in niche area. Then there is a market for you. Even if someone is already in that particular space or a domain, if you're following it, if you have some niche, it will be very easy for you to do the business. So according to me, these three are the finds. If you want to get into business, you need idea, you need passion, and you need a solution in a niche area. Basic necessities to start a startup. You need a knowledge about what business you want to get into. You need to have capabilities. If you do not have capabilities, you need to build up capabilities. For example, if I am a salesperson by nature, but if I also would need an operations person to deliver my product services, very, very key. So I need to then build up the capability in case I know where I am. You need business connections to start with. Where do you move to? Because initially when you start business, you just cannot go to the market like that. You need to know where to go to. And for first few deals, if you have the connections available, you are at a less risk factor. You need finance, because at every point of time you need an investment. If you're hiring people, you need to pay to them, and there are a lot of OPEX and CAPEX expenditures happening. So you need finances to run with the business. You need a good name which could get related to your business if possible, or a tagline. So people could understand by the name or the tagline what business offerings you are all about. You have a past experience in the same domain. It is desirable because it will help you to understand the market. Okay, but we have seen a lot of entrepreneurs these days, they just get in and without a prior experience. So that also works many times. That is, I've said desirable, because when you know that domain, you also sometimes curtail yourself with an unbiased opinion that you know about this business. This may work, this may not work. So you don't think out of the box. So that is, I have said desirable in terms of past experience. You need to have a love and passion. Yes, because and any entrepreneurship journey which you start, you need to give 1,000 days for it. You cannot quit before 1,000 days. 1,000 days is 3 years. That is the minimum time required for you to understand whether your business is moving in the right direction or not. So you need a lot of love, and you need passion for the business. You need passion for entrepreneurship. And of course, you need a commitment for yourself. If you are committed to it, I'm sure you can do anything and everything, because you could start your business as a solopreneur, wherein you need to do anything and everything. It's like chief, you say CEO. CEO for an entrepreneur, for a startup, is chief everything officer. So you need to be a chief everything officer when you start up your business. You need to do everything, whatever is required to be done. And we have seen in past, a lot of entrepreneurs actually went and delivered products and services because there were a few people army initially to start with. So all these are key factors according to me, and are basic necessities to start your business. Something which MIT says, okay, if you are starting a business and you have multiple like-minded partners, have better success than individuals. So your like-minded partners, if you come together, there is a good chance that your business could be successful, because you could cover the entire 360 degrees gamut of the business. Otherwise, if you're a single person, you have to be a CEO, which is Chief Executive Officer. If you are a single founder, you will take more longer to do business, more longer to settle in your business. So the success mantra is to get in right partners covering the entire gamut of business. So if you are focused on R&D, for example, if your product is more in a niche area, it's more related to research and a new innovation or an intervention, you could check at this, and you could have the other founders looking at the other part of the business which is required. So someone could take care of R&D, for example, R&D and operations. Someone could take care of business development. Someone could take care of delivery, logistics, and back office. Likewise. Key points according to me: customer, you need to understand the customers, the segmentation, and then reach them accordingly. Many businesses have failed because they have a wonderful product, but they don't know where to go and sell, and they don't know where to reach the right segment of customers. So this is key. Product, buying a product by customers, what would they require? What is their requirement? If the product has a market potential, you need to understand the customer segmentation as well and what they would need. You need to put up a hierarchy of the organization, because if you have a good platform in place, it is very easy to build on that. For example, you could start with 3 people, but if your business grows, 3 can become 9, 9 can become 27, 26 can become 100, and then so on. So team hierarchy of the organization is very, very key. A lot of people talk about organization chart. This is kind of organization chart, but at the initial startup level, you cannot have an org chart completely. So you could say hierarchy of the organization. Business model, scalability in terms of manpower, customer service, sales strategy. All this needs to be planned little in advance. I know you can take it milestone basis, but as an entrepreneur, when you're starting this journey, you need to have this plan little in advance. Okay, you need finance to sustain capital funding. Could be an angel funding, could be a midterm funding. These days people about sweat funding, because you invest. Some people talk about bootstrapping. So you are investing on yourself, and at the right time you want to infuse the capital and then get and do a scalable model. So all these are key pointers to start your business. So you also need to look at what kind of revenues you would be getting, who are the customers, how do you take care of customer relationship, what is the value proposition you go to the customer with, what is the cost to you and what is the cost to the customer, what are the key resources which you would need. For example, as I said, you are an R&D person, you would need to have a very, very great sales and marketing person who could go to the market and sell your product and services, or your process for that matter. And then what is the channel which you're building to move ahead to go to the market. So that is kind of a go-to-market strategy. Revenue streams, how your revenues would be coming in, which will help you to scale and also sustain. Key things when you are into the business, what all you need. You need a infrastructure, you need customer support services, very, very key. Model availability, if you want to outsource something, you need to be knowing it, what you're going to outsource. Like for example, if you look at these days how Google and Facebook have outsourced most of the things. Okay, you need to have a business plan in place, you need to have projections, you need to have a financial statement, because if you go to a financer or an investor, they prefer to have a single page of financial statement. It becomes very easy for them to understand. And you need to have an ability to listen to the customers, listen to the feedbacks of the customers if they have any, and the issues if you have in your product and service. Initial time, you would definitely have teething issues. Be ready and be ready to listen to customers. We have seen a lot of organizations who have not listened to customers and they are closed right now. You know, some names are on the right side of the screen. Kodak, Nokia, and BlackBerry. They couldn't listen. They did not understand the customer. They did not understand where the customers are moving. And now they are nowhere. So what is important here is customer segmentation. Who are your target customers? How do you map them? How do you analyze your customer base? What is the size of your market? And if you want to get into the market through a digital presence, is e-commerce with the right way of going about it? And then the sellers category. So you need to fulfill all this, make that in plan, and then move ahead accordingly. Somewhere you also need to be a little flexible and agile, how you want to move. But prima facie, if you plan all this, this will help you a lot to become a successful entrepreneur or a startup. So my last statement to all the friends out here, entrepreneurship cannot be taught, it has to be learned, just like the picture says. Thank you from my side. Over to you, Vandana.
Thank you so much, Deepak, for sharing your valuable expertise. So there is a question from Sakshi Arora. She
Sure.
wants to know, she says it's not always easy to fulfill demands of people every time. And in today's scenario where everything is digital, nowadays, so what could be the steps to fulfill desires of people, considering the current scenario?
Then you need to align your offerings accordingly. So once you understand the customer segmentation, once you understand what customer would need, then you can align your offerings accordingly. For example, if a customer is expecting that you will come home and deliver, may not be possible. So then in that case, you need to tie up with a logistic partner to go and deliver the product or services. But for example, if it's a high-end product and customer is expecting that he needs a human touch in it, then obviously you need people who could go and deliver and appreciate customers that they've made a right decision in choosing you as your buyer. So it all depends on what product, services, or process you are into.
Fantastic. That was a valuable insight on planning, and I'm sure our attendees could derive a great value out of the things you've discussed here. Thank you so much, Deepak.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Great. Now I would like to move ahead with our third key variable, that is the process. And for that, we have an expert advisor here with us, Pranav Kumar. Pranav, can we have you here? Hi.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so Pranav, since you have been on the advisory board of several global companies for a good number of years now, what do you think are the best business practices and processes involved in taking the business to the next level? Or how effective streamlined processes are and how they can actually help businesses to grow exponentially? Over to you.
Okay, yeah. So the answer is not easy. It's not an easy answer, and like you can not define everything. And every company is very uniquely different, and things are very different and challenging with every company. But when you are asking these questions based on my almost 2 decades of experience with multiple companies, I can give you certain answers which might be helpful for all the entrepreneurs or startups participating in this meeting. So when you are starting the company and you are talking about the practices and processes, then like you have to wear 2 different hats precisely. I just want to make it very precise that the CEO role as a manager and CEO role as a leader. What is the lead? What is the role of the CEO as a leader, and what is the role of a CEO as a manager? So when you are thinking about a role of CEO as a manager, then they define and check the strategy. That what is going to be the strategy? They just define it, and since they cannot execute everything by their own, then they recruit and verify the team. What are the complementary skill set? If CEO is very much from the finance side and like the strategy side, and the past experience is very much aligned to those expertise, then they just try to get some tech person or like tech people into the team. So they just recruit and verify the team based on the defined and checked strategy. And after recruiting the team, they just decide that, hey, do I need to change the goal? Do I need to be very frugal, very agile? When they grow into that process, they understand those things, and they just try to become like what are the things I can change? What are the things I can add? What are the things I can remove from this whole thing? And they assist when it's needed. Like always, I have written a couple of articles around it that not everyone is very good with everything which you need for that particular person and to help your team and company. But in the hiring process, one extremely important thing I have learned in last so many years, and it's not written somewhere, But like I assess people based on the energy over experience. Like 8 years of experience doesn't matter to me. 9 years of experience doesn't matter to me if that person is with the very right attitude and with the right kind of energy. Because if the energy is right, if and you as a team and you have create a structure where you can help that people grow, and if they are individually growing into their individual journey, then your company will grow by itself. You don't have to handhold a lot. And then like you monitor the progress. So defining, recruiting, changing the goals, assessing, and then monitoring the progress. So that is the basic framework, like acting like a manager. But at a broader level, you have to see three things as a leader: that people, vision, and culture, right? So what kind of people you are, what kind of culture you want. Southwest Airlines is the only airline company in United States which is profitable, right? Delta, American, everyone is struggling, right? Because Southwest started that culture which is more collaborative, very stock options oriented. Every employee of Southwest is owning the stock of Southwest Airlines, and they are making some good profit. So they have set up the culture, and it's very, very hard to replicate that culture in the later stage of the company. So you have to see that if you are sacrificing few things in the beginning to create the traction. A lot of venture capital funds and angel investors and all those people are asking for traction and kind of that, hey, this is the number I'm looking for to invest in the follow-on rounds and rest of the things, right? But still, you have to see as a CEO, oh, they are looking for it, but what kind of company do I need? I have seen multiple Silicon Valley based companies getting disrupted, and like disrupted in a multiple way, different ways. And as a founder, they never wanted to become that company. They never wanted to go into that direction, but because of like the VC pressure and the matrix and rest of the things, they got into that game. So you see that as a founder, you are contributing, you are giving. It's not easy. You have to give your 10 years. You have to give your eight years to that company, and you have to build something from the scratch. And if you are loving it and you are so much committed around it, then you have to see that what kind of company do you need? Do you want? Like what kind of things you want to do? So people and the vision is well aligned, and the culture and the culture. So you set up the vision, you just take the people, you just grow with those people, individually focus on the growth of those people, what they need into their life, help them out grow. And that will create a very good culture for the organization. Have I answered your question?
Yeah, that's a valuable insight. I completely agree. The culture is very important, and the leader is the one who sets the culture in the organization.
Sure.
So, on that, I have a question here on team building. So, how do you think that we should give feedback to the team members or to the founding members?
Yeah, it comes from the top. It comes from the top, and set the culture setting is this. That's the extension of the question you have asked. Is the extension of the culture is like the how to set up that, promote that behavior and culture into that organization, that people can be inquisitive and they can ask questions. So it comes from the top. In my company especially, people from NYU, UC Berkeley, San Jose State University, even in India and US, any intern can ask the CEO. Any intern have the like, and that's the culture you set up. Like you ask them questions. You ask them questions when you meet, even for 5 minutes. You tell them, hey, what's your perspective on this? Can you tell me your perspective on this? Can you tell me what you are gonna do if I'm going to give you this situation? Okay, and then they come up with multiple ideas which is so well aligned to that particular, and it helps you understand the target audience as well. Because like if you are like, suppose you are asking some question which is more relevant to generation G, and you are talking to generation G, then like, no, you have to understand that the perspective is coming from generation G. And if they are like young, like 22-year-old or 25-year-old, and Brex founder, like they have created a $2 billion company, and the founder is 22-year-old and got invested by Peter Thiel and PayPal and a lot of big companies, American Express and all. Like, so like if Snap founder is like just 25, 26. So they are understanding that perspective of the, kind of the ecosystem. And if you are building the product around that, then you have to understand their perspective by reading the books and by doing a lot of elderly hiring cannot help you to build the great product, right? So those are the things becomes really important. Yeah.
Fantastic. So Pranav, we have a lot of young entrepreneurs here. So there is just a question I wanted to ask around the startup ecosystem. What are the key positions every startup must have?
Oh yeah, again, what is the value proposition you have for that company? And then you have to understand that, what are the constraints, how you want to craft the team. But broadly, if you want to define that, it's product, engineering, and marketing. You have to strike the balance between these three. So like if you are from engineering background, then you have a very good coding ability, but like how to design a product is not probably the best capability you have. And then like if you have a lot of very good tech companies, I talked about it on one of my video, I think, that many of the founders tell me that they are running a tech company, and I get surprised. Tech can't be your business model, right? Tech can't be your business model. Tech can be your enabler. Tech can enable your business. Tech can escalate your business. Tech can give you the ability to grow the business multifolds, right? But tech can't be your business model. A lot of big founders, I don't want to name, but like they secured the funding of $75-80 million in India. But like they have this kind of mindset where they are talking about tech. But I as a person feel that the business model, the product, the value proposition, and then getting into the market and just seeing that, hey, do people need this particular product? Are they really happy to consume this product? And then using different tools like tech and different things to scale up that particular process. So that's my perspective, which is very, kind of not getting well fitted into the current VC ecosystem. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I completely agree with you on development team building processes.
Sure.
So it's very important that you build a perfect team, that you build the goals of your team are in line with your organizational goals. So it also allows the team to emerge with the synergy, focus, cohesiveness, like you told us, and the bottom line effectiveness that strengthens a company holistically. Perfect. It was wonderful. Wonderful insight from you, Pranav.
Thank you, Vandana.
Thank you for adding value and your thought focus insight to the panel discussion today. Great.
Yeah, happy to help.
Yeah. So on this, I would like to invite Deepak on stage. Deepak, I would like to get your point of view, your perception on the best processes or best business practices young entrepreneurs need to follow.
As I talked about in my slides, but if there is anything specific you want me to talk about, I can do that. So, to ensure that when you start something, you cover the entire gamut of operations. For example, if you're trying to go and sell a product, ensure that, you have a team who can go and deliver. Ensure the team that, you have who could service the customers, because there could be, service related issues. If you are a startup, you will definitely have a lot of teething issues as well. So that is important. And then sufficient funds to sustain. I think this couple of parameters are very, very key if you ask me, because a lot of startups are these days failing because they have an excellent product, but they're not able to sustain. And then they go to up to 2.5 years and little time away, Hindi mein bolte ki हाथी चले गया पूंछ रह गई है, and तब तक वो बंद कर देते हैं. So I think that is very, very key, that you need to look at any business for at least 3 years. Don't leave it. Have a commitment to yourself. And yes, love and passion is very, very key if you want to run in business, because you will not make money be ready for it. Be ready for it. That's it from my side.
Vandana, can
Thank
I
you so
add
much.
that?
Sure. I was coming back to you.
Thank you. Okay, so to add some more value to what Deepak has said as well. Yes, passion and love for your business should be key. Without passion, you'll not get anywhere. It's as simple as that. The second point you mentioned, Vandana, you had asked with reference to best practices. Best practices are those which an individual is individually good at, right? That is your best practice. What are you good at? That's your best practice. And when you bring it together in an organization, that becomes an organization's best practice. Okay. And furthermore, what has been effective with the customer as well through the organization, employee strengths are your best practices, right? So that's what I'd like to add to what Deepak has said.
Right. It's a great insight. So there's a question from Abhishek that I would like to ask from Pranav. Pranav, Abhishek says, how can we sync thinking of co-founders and other key members while planning or making a calendar for the company or startup?
Okay, so the answer is the selecting the co-founders. Okay, yeah, so always about the complementary skill set, because broadly the business is the combination of tech, your product, and the marketing. So can you attract people with the complementary skill set, and then you can craft the team, early team, which are co-founders. But on the top of it, one more very important stuff is the attitude of the people. It's like a marriage, right? Like you are going to marry with some person, and like you are going to live with that person, then like how they are going to reciprocate you in every situation, that's very important. So when Brian created Airbnb, Brian Chesky created Airbnb, they were living in this 3-bedroom apartment in San Francisco, and then like they were interviewing, they were living, they were eating, they're sleeping, all these things together, right? And when they started hiring 50 people, they were in that particular apartment only, and a kind of finally they started interviewing people in the bathrooms because there is no place, and they are just locking the bathrooms and just getting that privacy and kind of asking questions because it became so crowded. And if you can live in that particular situation with your people, with your team, then you can deeply believe that, oh wow, that's my partner, that's my, like, because a lot of situation will be very, very bad. Like I can give you the examples, tons of examples. Like Nutanix is the company, Dheeraj Pandey is the guy from India, and like the Ajit is the guy who got separated. ThoughtSpot is a company. Ajit has founded ThoughtSpot in Palo Alto, and like they got separated because they found it with a lot of passion, but like somehow it never went well because of the vision, thought process, and not having the right kind of marriage. Yeah, have I answered your question?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Completely agree with you. So there's a question from Sahil that I would like to ask to Achal. At what point should we move from paid marketing to other ways of marketing without slowing down the growth?
Okay, so first things first, when you're starting a business, don't start with paid marketing. That's my perception. That's my opinion. That's my perception. Don't start with paid marketing. Build it up gradually. Anything that goes up very exponentially has to come down exponentially. If you gradually build a business and your marketing strategy as well, it's more sustainable than otherwise. That's my thought for you. Yeah.
Yeah, so organic growth goes for the long term. Completely agree.
Yes, that's right.
There's one more question which I want to ask to Deepak. Deepak, how important is financial literacy in the founding team? And how?
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you complete your question so that I can connect.
How important is the financial literacy in any team, so to say? Plus, how to make or how to make your people financially literate and how to increase the awareness?
There are two parts to it. First is, I think, let me go back to the question. And what Sahil had asked is, as an entrepreneur, you need to be financially literate. Yes, you need to, because a very simple answer to is so that no one can make a fool of you. Very blunt
Yes.
and very straightforward answer, because you need to know in and out of it, even though you are not working on it, but you need to know, because if your accountant comes to you and shows you something, and if you don't know, then he can take you for a ride. So financial literacy is very, very important. Going forward, if you are in the capacity, then you can hire a good person who is into this domain. But initially, at least the basics on financial literacy, you should be on it completely. If required, you need to get trained on it. And there are options available. You can get coached on it. And number of options available in the market now.
Yeah, and to add to what Deepak is saying also, financial literacy is absolutely important. However, as he was saying earlier as well, it takes 3 years for a business to actually realize itself. But according to me, it takes 5 years before you actually start making proper money. It's not 3 years, it's 5 years actually. That's according to me, Deepak.
Anshal, the ROIs for few companies are 7 and 8 years also. So, but
Exactly.
I think 3 years is you need to give time from your side for the business.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Vandana.
Fantastic. So there's another question. I would like to go back to Pranav. So Vishal is asking, shall founders go through an initial financial test to decide if he or she qualifies to be a founder before starting up, like a joint entrance exam or a psychometric test?
Absolutely. Psychometric tests are extremely helpful, Vandana. They are extremely helpful. Depends on which kind of psychometric test you're doing as well. There can be a psychometric test purely just on leadership, right? And that would be an effective one. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be done. For me, attitude is more important. Like you understand the attitude and the way they are going to be with you by being with them. So just try to spend some good time with them. Yeah, that's what I have seen. Like after 5 o'clock, when they start some company and in SF, they are in coffee shops and they are just trying to understand people. They are having the coffee together. They spend more and more time together. I will give you the example. I play golf sometime, and you have seen that a lot of industry professionals, even they don't like each other and their companies are getting acquired by some rival, even though they play golf together, they know that they disagree with each other. But by spending time 4 hours or 5 hours on the while walking together, playing golf, that gives them some common ground where they can understand that, hey, we can actually help each other and we can be together. Okay, so that's the whole idea. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's my perspective is like, understanding psychometric test, it might help. I never tried it. Of course, I agree with what she's telling right now, but like, that's my perspective on it. Thank you.
I would just like to add, for an entrepreneur, if he has a
sometimes it has more to do with your instinct. Sorry.
So as an entrepreneur, if you have a risk-taking capability, I think that is good enough qualification or capability for you to get into business.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's also there. That's very true. In fact, to add to what Pranav was saying as well, you were talking about businesses talking at the golf course, right? So from what I understand from that, Pranav, is also that at the end of the day, the perception of the customers and the audience, the market, is very different to what is actually happening in businesses behind the scenes. So we're talking about the larger businesses, right? Sure. Behind the scenes, they're actually friends, but in front of the audience and the market, they're competitors. So that's a beautiful reality to kind of work with as well in the current scenario for startups, right?
Yeah.
So even startups must have that collaborative mindset. So well said, Pranav, on that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I have something to answer here. Vishal says that India lacks risk-taking ability on an average. Yes, here is a person who has failed in 2 businesses and he's speaking to you right now in the 3rd business. So,
That's
failure
right.
teaches you. You need to take it with a positive flavor.
Yeah.
It's all in
I
the
failed
mind.
big time
Obviously.
with my second business. I can tell you, like I have started one company in 2008 when recession hit the market, like after Plus Capital, my first company. I thought maybe I'll diversify my business, and I got into this lifestyle luxury business, and I opened my outlet in Khan Market, Delhi, all those expensive places like Select City Walk and all that in Delhi. Hired people, designers from Nift, House Khas, and all that places. But like I failed big time because I was not understanding. And then based on my experience in Silicon Valley, I knew that for first time entrepreneurs, commodity is not the right business. If you are building something commodity related business, which is like very much traditional and kind of just trying to do something first time, there are a lot of challenges around it. Like if it is around innovation, tech, and kind of those things. So I spent a lot of money. I failed for like in like 4 or 5 years, like lost a lot of money. So definitely, I agree with Deepak that you learn. And I was I was talking to one of the fund manager from Edelweiss Capital day before yesterday, and he from Mumbai, and he was telling me that these are the tuition fees you give. These are the tuition fees. What's the tuition fee you have paid so far? I'm like, I have not calculated. Yeah. So, yes.
So, Pranav, I would just like to add, the funds in the US, for example, uh, if there is an entrepreneur who's failed, they would prefer to fund that person more because he's already experienced with a failure once. And
Yeah.
second time, he would ensure that he will not repeat the same mistakes, or probably he will tweet and he will recollect himself. That is more important.
Yes.
Uh, so there was one question out here, so I thought I'll answer that connected to what Pranav said.
Mhm.
Having
That is
said
very.
that, having said that, Deepak and Pranav, I do feel that one should not set themselves up for failure as well, right? So there has to be proper market research which is done, traction which is tested before any kind of implementation of a business takes place. That's that's very important to study traction. If you can study traction, you can sell your business for, and if it does well in the traction period, your business can do extremely well for getting funding as well for your organization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
There's another question around shutting down of startup. So when shall we shut down the startup, or what about the mental trauma seeing a startup die?
When you run out of money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
I,
try
I,
run out of money in this crisis. And for me, it is very clear. I interacted with more than 70, 75 startups in this crisis. And that's what I have just told them, that don't run out of the money. So if the business model, if your unit economics is very intact, the companies like Grab in Singapore, companies like Uber, they are changing their business model completely. They are getting into fintech now, right? They have started with ride hauling services, taxi, and kind of those things, and then they are getting into financial services now because of the unit economics was having that flaw. My friend is a chief product officer of Uber, like in San Francisco. But like I when we discuss this, I've discussed with him many times that the business model itself has a flaw. Because you are burning cash and just creating traction, is not a long-term long-term solution for the business. So when I invest into startups and like I evaluate startups, I see that like, oh, what the unit economics looks like, and is it a low
That's right.
capex,
Is it sustainable?
sustainable, low capex, high opex, free cash flow, more free cash flow. Those kind of companies can, like, I love those kind of companies where it's like not very much talking about like how can I rage, how much I can rage, but like they are just talking about the business culture, solving problems, and all those things.
So that adds to long-term vision.
I'd like to bring in a thought which I feel that startups should know. There are two types of organizations. There are value-based organizations and non-value-based organizations, right?
Right.
Value-based organizations are those which treat their employees like their own family, right? And that's where attrition is not very high in an organization. However, a non-value-based organization only cares about the bottom line. So attrition is high in those kind of organizations. You have to decide what do you want to be, a value-based organization or a non-value-based organization. Both, there's nothing wrong in both of them. They both just have a different approach. What is your approach? Do you know what your approach is? That's one point to definitely keep in mind when dealing with people and teams.
Right.
And businesses, yes.
Absolutely. So there's another question from Sahil. He's asking, at what point should we worry about milestones are not being met? And at what point should we feel good about milestones achievement? And I would like to ask this question to Deepak first.
Let me connect this with the earlier question which Vishal asked. So I think it's 1,000 days which you need to wait before you wind up. It is good sometimes to take a risk, get money, friends and family preferably, invest if you're confident that it's running in the right direction. Now, this could get also connected to the milestone, because at one point of time, once you've started, every 3 months, 6 months, you could check where you're moving. And if you have little confidence that yes, it's moving in the right direction, you can see a light at the end of the tunnel, and that is easily visible for you. I think that is the answer. So now you just need to check how far is the tunnel which gets over. If it's going to be 300 meters, 500 meters, 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, then you know what your capacity is. So it would depend from person to person, if you ask me. But then I think you are the right person. These are some of the checks which you can do and check at your end.
Hey, I have a very different perspective around it, which might help a lot of entrepreneurs here. And like what just Deepak said is like absolutely correct. But on the top of it, don't compare yourself with anyone. Okay, don't compare yourself with anyone, because Steve Jobs never knew that he will create such a large corporation. Yeah, he never, like, so you can get inspired by people, the things they have done, but you can never copy the process and like win in the game. It is your journey. Exactly. It will be completely your journey. And I follow Naval Ravikant in Silicon Valley, and he's a great thought leader. And he always talks about it, like maybe like just being with a lot of perseverance and like a lot of resilience, and then like you will suddenly see that, oh, after like everyone is saying here that 3 years, 5 years, and you will see, oh, looks like it is working. Looks like there is a good product market fit. Looks like I've done something, right? Until that time, you can inspire yourself by looking at a lot of leaders, entrepreneurs, the things they have done in the past. But your journey is your journey, and like the path could be radically different. Yeah, that's what my take is. So don't underestimate yourself. Don't get depressed with the thought that, hey, he has done something. Vijay Shekhar Sharma has done something in like Paytm. I know what Vijay Shekhar Sharma has done. Like Kshitish Karundia was my friend, like with Pay, like Alibaba, Alipay, and when they invested the money, the product was completely broken. They brought 20 good engineers from China and they fixed the product. So you never know that how the journey looks like. Like for like the guy who invested 8 lakhs rupees in Paytm, he withdrew 200 crore rupees, because that time it was like Paytm was shutting down literally, and that money was desperately required. So you never know the journey of the person, at how long If you see the current Silicon Valley startups, Bangalore-based, Mumbai-based, Delhi-based startups, do they have the patience to run the business for 12 odd years before they are getting successful? And just understanding that sort of pressure and that sort of commitment and kind of just being with it, readily being with it. So like every journey is very unique and very different. So just believe in yourself, believe in your product, understand the business model, understand the unit economics, and just be with yourself. Get inspired by others, but your journey is completely your journey. Just believe in that. Yeah.
And everybody has the same potential, except they have different capabilities.
Of course.
Everybody. They
Yes.
all have the same potential, different capabilities. So develop your capabilities.
Of course.
Make yourself able, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
That's true, much.
That should be your weapon. I completely agree. Rather than depending on others, following others, you should be equipped with your capabilities and working on your own ground, actually. So there's one more question from Sachin. He's asking, can one dream to open a startup business without a huge chunk of money?
Of course. Of course. I mean, like when they have started Airbnb, they were not having money to run the company, and they have sold Obama oatmeals because Obama was visiting San Francisco, and like they have branded this. They bought this big oatmeals packages from Costco, and then they have repackaged it with Obama picture, and they have called it Obama oatmeals, and they have sold this which has nothing to do with the business model of Airbnb, and they earned $30,000, and that's how they have sustained the company.
Sustaining themselves. Yeah.
It has to do with your unique offering.
Yeah, of course.
A unique offering could be in your business model, it could be in your product, it could be in the technology or the process, it could be in anything.
Very well said, Vandana. Very well said. Very well said. Yes.
So Vishal is asking about part-time startup. So he's saying it's a new normal. What are your opinion on this?
Oh, first-time startups.
Part-time.
Part-time startups. Okay. In the new normal.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say if part-time startups, well, that doesn't sit right with me.
Because startups are about building your company from the scratch.
Passion.
So when you are doing
Yes.
passion, living your passion, completely agree.
Exactly. So either you're all feet in it, you can't have your feet in two separate boats. You will be mediocre if you keep your feet in two separate boats. Have your feet in one boat in terms of following your passion, right? So that is only for this perspective, part-time startups for this. But if you talk about financial services, then yes, diversification is important. But when you talk about getting into a startup, then one direction, be focused like a train, go through that direction like a train in one direction. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So
needs a lot of commitment, and it needs so what Anchal is telling is the correct. There is no. I mean, like the ecosystem is so challenging that you can't imagine that part-time startups. But I have a point here. Like I have seen companies in Silicon Valley, they have one founder sold the company to Cisco 7 times or 3 times or 5 times, because Cisco is a very big acquisition machine. They acquire and that's their business model, right? I know few people, I'm serving few people's board as well, and kind of. So in that case, part-time is very much getting fitted into that particular scenario where you are working in Cisco. You have identified a problem the company is struggling with, and then you are just solving that problem out of the box. And then when you are thinking that, I can solve this problem, and this is the real problem for this large company. And then you come out, you build that prototype, you build that product, You build the team and sell that company again to the Cisco. Okay.
That's exactly what I did, in fact, Pranav.
So that is the great part-time strategy. And I've seen a lot of people doing that. They have raised a couple of $1 million and they have sold the company in $25-30 million in 2 years. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
yes.
Vishal is saying that it's student-led startups are part-time. Elon Musk is a part-time startup. I think Geofeet is in few of them money, and one source can be utilized in another. Basically, he's saying that part-time startups are led by students most.
Oh yeah. If they are feeling that college students, if they are feeling that there is some real problem which they are struggling with, and if they have certain things in their mind, then of course, why not?
Definitely. Yeah. And these startups are all about solving problem. It's one of the skills. Problem solving is a skill. You need to question, you need to find a real problem, and you need to find a real solution. Completely agree.
Absolutely. And to add to your point, Vandana, solutions are available across the globe in plenty. What makes your solution different? What makes your organization different? That's the question you need to answer.
Right. That's your unique offering that you need to find for yourself. Right. Wonderful. It was a wonderful session. And now we are coming to the close of our panel discussion. If anybody has any questions, can post it in the chat box. And if not, we can close the session now.
I could just share one example of an Indian startup, okay, that can get related, because not talked about any Indian startup. So there are two startups which we need to look at. So someone said part-time. Yes, if you look at Bharat Matrimony, they started as a part-time in the US by the founder, and you know where they are right now. And the second, we're talking about a problem statement here. So if you look at Goli Vada Pav, okay, sounds very funny, but it's a beautiful case study if you want to look at Goli Vada Pav. All the constraints, you don't need a hotel, you just need someone who can come, pay money, take the vada pav and eat while he walks or he is traveling. So these are the two startups which had all the constraints, and they've been successful. So when someone said that, you need to look at the failures of the startup, yes, you need to look at failures, but look at the success stories, how they have gotten, take some pointers, some learnings from their experience. You don't need to reinvent the wheel again. Look at that and move ahead in a startup journey. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Can I share one example as well, Vandana?
Sure.
Okay, great. So in 2013, I started Skillmaker in UAE, in Dubai. Okay, we had a Knowledge and Human Development Authority license, and we also had a license of the Department of Economic Development in the UAE. Now, why did I start that company? As Pranav said, there was an organization I had worked with which had franchises of Mitsubishi, Chery, Bentley, Bugatti, McLaren, and JAC. All right, these are automotive companies. They had all of these franchises. They wanted a solution, a learning and development solution for their business, because they wanted to set up a customer charter. And they wanted to know what kind of a charter they can set up, what kind of a design they can put together, what is the living document that they can put forward, rather than a static document or a service guarantee. And that's where I came into the picture and that's how I actually started Skillmaker, in fact, in a certain sense. That was my first opportunity at Skillmaker. Luckily, in the automotive division, there were 1,800 employees. So I had the opportunity of sharing processes, soft skills, merged with each other with a customer charter called Miles of Smiles. Right? So it had its own vision, mission, and value statement. And it got executed so well that there was an increase in retention by 10% in the business, and an increase in sales from 15% to 26% just in 3 months. And this kind of sustained itself over a period of time of 5 years before they started a new strategy. So that's just an example I'd like to share with you in relation to what Pranav was saying.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
Excellent. So
Thank you.
it has been a wonderful session today, and thank you all for attending today's event and our panelists. You have been a wonderful audience and panelists, and we have got a great insight from you all.
Thanks for having me here.
Thank you very
It was
much.
wonderful. It was
Thank you
wonderful
very much.
having you here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Great. So,
Thank you so much.
yes, for audience, if you haven't joined DueDash community platform yet, here is the link in the chat box. So just click on the link and join DueDash platform. Do join us today. Thank you very much. It was wonderful having you here. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Right.